changed specifically for boys. Okay? That's it. That's the only reason. And it's not like this life-destroying thing anyway. It's just a thing that people have. Who cares? So the two things that cause a little bit of concern for me is the language surrounding autism from this administration, where they make it seem as though this is something that you can, one, cure. Okay, you can manage it. Some of the more consequential aspects of, as far as like limitations to socializing and whatnot. But as far as like autism being this thing, this curse that you must cure, is just wrong. And it feels as though it is eugenicist in nature. The idea that like autistic people have to be dealt with somehow, you know? It's ridiculous. And I'm not being too woke on this at all. It's just a thing, okay? Everyone exhibits some semblance of neurodivergence. It's not the end of the fucking world, you know? It's not. I mean, Elon Musk is a great example of this. He's autistic as fuck. And look at him, you know? Obviously, he's the worst person to point to when we're talking about autism and not vilifying autism. But, I mean, he's just a bad guy on his own, autism notwithstanding. But there are plenty of people who are autistic that didn't get the fucking diagnosis at the time, and it doesn't really matter. In my opinion, this is definitely a corporate grift. The original vaccine autism link was run by a company trying to market their own vaccine. I know. Former Dr. Andrew fucking Wakefield. That is where the vaccines cause autism meta comes from in England. H. Bomber guy did a phenomenal video many, many years ago that I highly suggest you check out. But the short summary of it is Andrew Wakefield had his own separate vaccine at a time when the MMR vaccine was being developed, and he wanted to sell his own separate vaccine. So in an effort to do so, he actually made fake tests that showed that the combined MMR vaccine that was competing against his separate vaccines was causing young boys to develop autism. But the real reason is because the diagnostic criteria has changed, and it has led to more awareness as well. That's it. Okay, that's it. That's literally the reason. And the reason why this is primarily seen as an issue, a medical condition that only boys experience, men experience, is because the diagnostic criteria for women is still not up to the same standard as it is for men. That's it.
Glucovorin has been shown to help, particularly with speech, getting kids to be more verbal than they were before.
How concerned is the medical community about this? Because I think if I was pregnant, I would be so freaked out now about what to do and who to believe and who to believe.
I mean, look, the medical community, the scientific community is very much, has the same consensus, which is that Tylenol, acetaminophen, is safe in pregnancy. If you have a high fever during pregnancy, that can cause neurodevelopment issues in the baby. So you don't want to let that fever go untreated. Right. And, you know, pregnant women may have pain, and that's not something that should go untreated either.
All right, Dr. Gounder, thank you so much.
So what does the evidence say? Americans consume more paracetamol than anybody else, spending about $4 billion a year on what they call acetaminophen under the leading brand name Tylenol. And diagnoses of autism have also been steadily increasing in America, from around 1 in 150 children in the year 2000 up to about 1 in 30 today. There have also been a number of studies linking mothers who took paracetamol during pregnancy who went on to go and have a child with autism. But correlation is not the same as a cause. Research into autism in recent decades has meant the criteria for diagnosing it have expanded to include far more people, And there have been a number of recent studies showing no connection to paracetamol at all, the largest of which from Sweden looked at nearly 2.5 million children, huge in terms of public health research. It's why nearly all health authorities, including here in the UK, recommend that paracetamol should be used in pregnancy. In fact, that it's the best pain relief choice there is. In fact, if pregnant mothers didn't use it when they needed it, it could end up doing their babies more harm.
It is the safest option that we have out there, and that actually, while you're pregnant, experiencing uncontrolled fevers or some of the side effects from pain, such as high blood pressure, will be a lot more detrimental to a developing baby and a mother, importantly, than paracetamol will be.
So if paracetamol isn't causing autism, the question is, what's causing the Trump administration to be talking about it? Well, it's a controversial sounding thing that could distract well from genuine controversies going on in the White House. And it aligns well with many of the policies of American Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's long believed an over-medicated America is doing harm to its children. But the thing about science, if done well, is that it doesn't care what you believe, it's what the evidence tells you. And so far, there's been a distinct lack of that behind a lot of the health policy changes in America.
On the horrific murder of Charlie Kirk, government and local officials said that Antifa inscriptions were engraved in these bullet casings that killed Charlie Kirk. It appears to be a trend, especially after what we saw in the Annunciation Church shooting, Catholic Church shooting. Additionally, Stephen Miller recently commented on the rise in this.
When I see the side reporters, I know. When I see the side reporters, I know. I know it's going to be some fuck shit. That's the Turning Point USA, Tim Pool contingency on the side. Even worse than the average dick riding reporter that you see from all of the preordained mainstream platforms. Yeah, everything is Tesla, everybody transgender, everybody autistic. Anyway, we're still waiting on this, but we're still waiting on the administration coming out and making their big revelation about autism. But let's get back to the White House saying that President Trump will designate Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. Women are getting less vaccines? No, I didn't say that. Yeah. Everybody knows women are getting less vaccines. That's why they're less likely to be autistic. Duh. And not because of the diagnostic criteria expanding for men, but not necessarily for women. That's not the case at all. Come on now.
Kind of violence, saying there is a domestic terrorist movement growing in this country. But the president is designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. I'm wondering, what is the approach to holding these people accountable, just to ensure that violence like this just is eradicated moving forward?
Sure. Well, Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends to sign that executive order very soon as it's drafted, as soon as today, later this afternoon. And this is something the president campaigned on, because we have seen a rise in violence perpetuated by Antifa, radical people across this country.
By the way, none of the instances that Jean Grey over here, Timu Bargain Bin Jean Grey, mentioned were actually radical Antifa at all. The Annunciation Church shooting was not done by a radical Antifa. It was done by a radical white supremacist. But of course, Who gives a shit about the truth, right? Nobody. And I mean, nobody cares about the truth. There is no reason to or not Jean Grey, whatever, Rogue, sorry. Shut up. It doesn't matter. Shut the fuck up. Timu Tulsi Gabbard, okay? No one is correcting the record. It makes me so mad. It's so fucking annoying, dude. Just, ugh.
Who subscribe to this group. And unfortunately, it's gone widely uncovered by many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration. Not anymore. Not only, as you mentioned, were the bullet casings subscribed.
Can you show the evidence then? What do you mean? The Annunciation Church shooter literally painted his gear with prominent white nationalist and white supremacist mass shooter terrorist names. Like there were slurs on it. That's one thing, but like it also, the dude literally had Anders Breivik on the weapon, saying 6 million Jews isn't enough. On the weapon, or no, on a potential gas bomb. What the fuck are we talking about? Correlation is not causation. Wait, what? Correlation is not causation? That's not a correlation, you fucking moron. I'm directly addressing the false narrative presented that this person who did a fucking church shooting, that is almost identical to previous fucking mosque shootings and church shootings and other mass shootings of similar other mass shootings that are identical, literally had those same right-wing, far-right figures and their names on his gear. It's fucking ridiculous. And these guys still claim shamelessly, because there's no pushback whatsoever, that that person was a fucking leftist Antifa. He was talking about autism in medicine. Wait, what? What? Oh, he's talking about autism in medicine. Jesus Christ, that is a fucking mobile chatter. Holy shit. Cope Harder, liberal, says CEO of Antifa. Shut up. Don't even joke right now. Even my racist ass Trumper dad saw the stuff from the Buffalo shooter and said that was a white supremacist guy targeting black people. Yeah. TVP 43, thank you for the 50 gifted subs, by the way. Yeah, 2008 internet Wi-Fi, tuning in from a fucking Motorola Razr phone. That's like an hour ago. We were talking about that an hour ago, the autism thing. Y'all are so mean to us mobile chatters. Yo, what kind of delay does this mobile chatter have? That was straight up from an hour ago. I cannot believe that these motherfuckers are still claiming that this was a radical Antifa shooting. Like, what the fuck? Is there photos of the gear or not? Are you running ads again? No, I'm not. I'm not running ads. It's probably your it's probably your ad blocker. Westman posted 2 YouTube videos showing writings which reference suicide, extremely violent thoughts and ideas, and messages addressed to my family and friends, and a drawing of the layout of a church. The video showed messages written on the guns and magazines. These messages included anti-Semitic, anti-Catholic, and racist phrases. Kill Donald Trump. 6 million wasn't enough. And the names of several mass shooters. The names of several white supremacist and white nationalist mass shooters. Okay? The names of prominent white nationalist, white supremacist terrorists. What fucking leftist would do that? Are you insane? The shooter met with a right-wing gun tuber who was running for Congress. His name is Brandon, that also known as the AK guy. Shooter talked about how much he liked Brandon, the AK guy, in his manifesto video. It's fucking ridiculous. Obviously, an Antifa trying to frame the right. Oh, yeah, totally. Totally, definitely. Famously, that's how it goes. The blonde bimbo is talking about a different shooter, you himbo. They're using Helldiver's bullet as an excuse. No, dummy. She brought up the Annunciation Church shooter. She did. Walmart Tulsi Gabbard is the one who brought up that shooter as another point of evidence for fucking leftist Antifa violence. Tying it to this shooting of Charlie Kirk, which, once again, neither of which is proven to be like any even remotely leftist or Antifa at all. For the Annunciation Church shooter, we have more evidence that he was right-wing as fuck. With Tyler Robinson, the only thing that we can associate with his politics is the fact that, despite coming from a MAGA upbringing, he doesn't think trans people should be killed. That's it. That's like, I guess that's what it takes for you to be fucking Antifa nowadays, you know?
Widely uncovered by many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration. Not anymore. Not only, as you mentioned, were the bullet casings subscribed with Antifa mottos, if you will, in the heinous assassination of Charlie, but there have also been more examples than I could read off for you here in this briefing room today of violence from Antifa. I will just read a few. In July 2025.
I need you to understand something, by the way. I need you to understand something. Okay. There is no domestic terror organization designation in this country. Okay. There is none. You can't do that. It has to be a foreign organization because terrorism as a designation is so expansive and intentionally vague that you can't do that to domestic organizations. I know this because there are a fuck ton of very well organized neo-Nazi networks and white supremacist networks that this administration has kept consistently stating are actually covered under the First Amendment, and therefore there's nothing they can do about it. Okay? The only time where they actually investigate these organizations is when they are about to do violence, right? Atomwaffen is a great example of this. Atomwaffen is a neo-Nazi group that specifically recruits from the military, and they have time and time again like stolen military gear to try to like blow up railroads or attack like critical infrastructure, things of that nature. And only then do they actually prosecute and investigate these organizations. But those organizations can still march, right? those organizations can still get permits to go and march, quote unquote, peacefully, right? Patriot Prayer is a great example of this. Patriot Front is another example of this. The 3%ers. The only time when these guys actually get prosecuted is if they do January 6th, which, of course, Donald Trump, we already know, does not consider that to be a violent thing at all and has rewarded those people with freedom and leniency. Okay? This is because, as you've said before, Antifa is not an organized party, so who's being penalized? Anyone and everyone. That's the reason why not only is this designation in direct odds with the First Amendment protections, freedom of association, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of political organizations, but there is, yes, political smack is correct. In the United States, there's no legal mechanism for the government to designate a domestic group as a domestic terrorist organization. While federal law provides a definition for domestic terrorism, it's not a specific federal crime, and there is no equivalent process to the foreign terrorist organization designation used for international groups. This is the reason why the Trump administration is actually going after an international donor, an American citizen that now lives in China, in an effort to go after Answer Coalition, Palestinian Youth Movement, Party for Socialism and Liberation, and numerous other organizations that actually are anti-war protesters. They are trying to tie it back to like some kind of international donor. Okay? On the domestic front, on the domestic side, on the domestic front, they are actively trying to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization when there's no legal mechanism to do so. Antifa itself is also not even an organization to begin with. It's not. There is no organizational structure. It's not a real thing. It's an action. It's like saying that you're anti-racist. The administration is now going to go after anti-racism as a domestic terror organization. That's fucking nuts.
Several members of an Antifa cell ambushed and opened fire on officers at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, shooting one officer in the neck. Also, in July 2025, 3 Antifa members were charged with assaulting a police officer during a violent riot outside an ICE facility in Portland, which for weeks prior had been...
All right, now we're getting to the real fucking fascism.
And it's not that everything's 100%
the moment you waited for.
But I think we've made a lot of strides. Wish it was done a long time ago. Today, we're delighted to be joined by America's top medical and public health professionals as we announce historic steps to confront the crisis of autism. Horrible, horrible crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from. And he and I don't know, the word got out, and I wouldn't say that people were very understanding of where we were, but it's turning out that we understood a lot more than a lot of people who studied it, we think. And I say we think because I don't think they were really letting the public know what they knew. Thanks as well to the director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner, Dr. Marty McCary. These are great people. Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Acting Assistant Secretary of HHS, Dr. Dorothy Fink. So thank you all. Thank you, Dorothy, very much. The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. So that's not a long time. And I've always heard, you know, they say a few, but I think it's a lot less time than that. It used to be 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31, but in some areas it's much worse than that, if you can believe it. 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. I was told that's in California, where they have for some reason, a more severe problem. But whether it's 1 in 12 or 1 in 31, can you imagine? That's down from 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And now we're at the level of 1 in 12 in some cases for boys. 1 in 31 overall. So since 2000, autism rates have surged by much more than 400%. Instead of attacking those who ask questions, everyone should be grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation. And the first day all of these great doctors behind me were there, I told them, this is what we have to find out. Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000, and then you go to 12, you know there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism.
That's not true.
That have no autism.
If you're less likely to take a vaccine, you are infinitely less likely to go get diagnosed by a medical specialist to see whether you have autism or not. That's it. That's the only reason. Oh my God.
Yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say.
Great. Yeah, you're only the fucking
Amish
president.
As an example.
It's good that you're careless with your
essentially
words.
No autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen.
Oh, God.
Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it. And you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire. And you shouldn't give the child the Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally, you don't take it at all. But if you have to, if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it.
Why are
the other
they?
thing that I can tell
I don't
you
even
that
know.
I'll say
I don't even understand what the purpose of this is. This is just like
later date.
this is just a way to
But I
fuck
think when you
people
go for
over.
the
It's
shot,
just,
you
that's
do
it.
over a 5-time
It's just
period.
pure bad.
Take it
I
over
can't even
5
see any
times
like
or 4
profit
times, but
upsides for any company
take
in
it
this
in
process. You know what I
smaller
mean? Only
doses,
downsides.
And you
It's
spread
just
it out over a period
let's
of years.
fuck it up. Let's
And,
fuck it
they
up
pump so much
aggressively.
stuff into
Who
those
gives a shit?
Beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it has. I think it's very bad. They're pumping. It looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines. I guess 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So, ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby loaded up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's artificially induced. It's not like something that when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel.
What I feel. My
mumps,
feelings.
Measles. And all the three should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country. The FDA will be updating the label of an
unless they're
existing
born
drug to
vaginally.
reflect potential benefits
stop.
in reducing some autism
You don't understand.
symptoms. This gives hope to
We're
the
making
many
them
parents
born
with autistic
not
children
vaginally.
that it may be possible to improve their lives. That's one of the things that I'm very, very happy about. I mean, this was mostly going to be on how not to have the child affected, but we've learned some pretty good things about certain elements of genius that can be given to a baby, and the baby can get better. And in some cases, maybe substantially better. Not going to be easy, but be a lot easier if it didn't happen in the first place, as these great parents fully understand, right? They fully understand. I feel so terribly for. I have so many friends with autistic children. It's a tough situation. Finally, to help reach the ultimate goal of ending the autism fever, the NIH will be announcing 13 major grant awards from the Autism Data Science Initiatives. And to be honest with you, to me, that's the least important. It's not even a money thing at this point. There's so much money, but they have to do, and they have to move quickly. When the alternative is that nothing bad can happen, let's do it now. I was just saying to Bobby and the group, let's do it now. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils and others, right? And they've been proven bad. So I'd like to ask Bobby to get up to the podium and say a few words, and then Dr. Bhattacharya and Dr. McCary, Dr. Oz, Dr. Fink, followed by two incredible mothers that have experienced firsthand what this country is going through, what parts of the world are going through. And I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. Kenview going to have mad lawsuits
for him using the Tylenol brand
there's a
mainly
rumor,
for this.
and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one.
What? They have paracetamol, dude. They have a paracetamol substitute. What the fuck?
Autism. That tells you a lot. And I want to say it right now. And you know the way I look at it? Don't take it. Don't take it. There's no downside in not taking it. So I'd like to ask Bobby to come up and say a few words. I hope I didn't ruin his day, but that's the way I feel. I've been very strong on the subject for a long time. You know, life is common sense, too.
It can only good happen.
There's a lot of
but
common
my
sense
autism
in
is the
this, and
problem.
I wish things like this were brought up, and this group has worked so hard on it. but I'd like to be a little bit more, a little speedier in the process of a recommendation, because there's no harm in going
Dude,
quicker.
this
There's
is so
absolutely no
fucking
harm. At
cooked.
worst, there's
We
no
are
harm.
at the
Thank you very much,
mercy
Bobby.
of madmen. We are at the mercy of madmen. Once again,
To
the
meet the
dumbest,
president's
most
challenge, I ordered
hysterical
HHS to
losers
launch
in American
unprecedented
society
all-agency effort
are
to
getting their
identify
wishes
all causes of
be
autism,
heard and turning it
including
into
toxic
government
and pharmaceutical
mandate.
exposures.
We are at the mercy
President
of the
Trump's
most
urging
insane
NIH,
people,
FDA,
dude.
CDC,
Whether it be
and
evangelical
CMS
Christians when it comes to
are
abortion
turning
and
over
numerous
every
other fucking
stone to
hysterics
identify the
that
etiology
this
of the
administration
autism
listens
epidemic,
to, or whether
and
it
how
be
patients and
all of the
parents
fucking
can prevent
anti-vax
and reverse
cranks
this alarming trend.
and their consistent advocacy that
We
has
have
led to
broken down the
RFK Jr.
traditional
becoming a
silos
permanent
that have long
fixture of the
separated
administration.
these
That's what this
agencies, and
is.
we have fast-tracked
They're literally
research
giving
and
red
guidance.
meat to like key
Historically, NIH has
constituencies of their
focused
fucking base,
almost solely on
and they all
politically
happen to
safe
be
and entirely
schizophrenic
fruitless research about
hallucinators.
genetic drivers of autism. And that would be like studying the genetic drivers of lung cancer without looking at cigarettes. And that's what NIH has been doing for 20 years. As a result, we don't have an answer to this critical question, despite the cataclysmic impact of the epidemic on our nation's children. We are now replacing the institutional culture of politicized science and corruption with evidence-based medicine. NIH research teams are currently testing multiple hypotheses with no area off limits. We promise transparency as we uncover the potential causes and treatments, and we will notify the public regularly of our progress. Today, we are announcing two important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism.
What do I say,
Scientists
man?
propose
What do you
biological
say to this?
mechanisms linking
What do you
prenatal
fucking say to this?
acetaminophen
What do you say to
exposure
this?
altered
It's so
brain
cooked.
development. We have also evaluated the contrary
This is so
studies that show
dumb.
no
I don't know. I
association.
don't even know what to say. We're
Today, the
literally,
FDA
his
will issue
brainworm is
physicians'
running
notice about
the
risk
health
of
initiatives in this
acetaminophen during
government.
pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required.
Oh, so they can have a little
Thanks
bit of
to
autism, I
also
guess? Is that
to
what
the
it is?
politicization of science. The safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity. Some studies have also found the use of acetaminophen in children can potentially prolong viral illnesses. FDA will drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. In addition to a possible acetaminophen connection to autism for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, our research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism. We have also identified an exciting therapy that may benefit large numbers of children who suffer from autism. Peer-reviewed literature has documented that up to 60% of folate-deficient children with ASD can have improved verbal communications if given leucovorin. I have instructed NIH, FDA, and CMS to help doctors treat children appropriately. Jay will help tell that story, which started with sound science, the kind that restores faith in government. This announcement also represents a historic collaboration between NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS. We expect this to be the first of many announcements over the coming years that deliver actionable information to parents on
my God.
underlying causes
What do you-
of
I mean,
autism and the
beacon of
potential
health,
paths
baby.
for prevention and reversal. Finally, autism is a complex disorder with multifactorial etiology. We are continuing to investigate a multiplicity of potential causes with no areas of taboo. One area that we are closely examining, as the president mentioned, is vaccines.
You want to know the worst part of this?
70% of mothers.
People are talking about his hand, right? These assholes never actually take the anti-science, anti-medicine rhetoric to heart. When doctors come to them and say, this is what you got to do, they don't go, no, actually, I'm going to inject fucking bleach. That's the worst part about this, because they don't even fucking practice what they preach, bro. Because if they did, they wouldn't be here for long.
People have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades. Because
RFK does? Yeah, well, he's on the verge of collapse. Exactly.
Has been actively suppressed in the past. It will take time for an honest look at this topic by scientists. But I want to reassure the people in the autism community that we will be uncompromising and relentless in our search for answers. We will perform the studies that should have been performed 25 years ago. Whatever the answer is, we will tell you what
Out of these three, this fucking piece of shit, by the way, is a real doctor. So for him to also play this song and dance is, of course, expected, considering if you know his background, you know that he was already prosecuted for selling snake oil. Okay? But he's a real fucking doctor. It's crazy. He knows exactly what these kinds of idiotic decisions are going to lead to. But he doesn't give a fuck, because I'm sure he has a stake or something in whatever they're presenting as the cure to autism.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. And thank you, President Trump.
Thank you very much.
I'm proud to announce today that the NIH has launched the Autism Data Science Initiative to turbocharge autism research, devoting an additional $50 million to the cause of studying autism. Nearly 250 research teams from across the country applied, sent in their applications, and were peer-reviewed by the NIH review panels. The NIH peer reviewers chose the 13 best projects focused on root causes and therapies, with replication and validation studies to guarantee gold standard science. The studies feature a new kind of science called exposomics, where scientists consider environmental and medical factors, nutrition, events during pregnancy, in combination with biology and genetics to answer vital questions about autism. Science like this, conducted in partnership with families and physicians, is the best way to arrest and reverse the autism epidemic. Autism spectrum disorder encompasses a very wide range of symptoms, ranging from mild difficulties with social interactions to profoundly autistic children who experience severe disabilities in speech and behavior. Given this wide range of symptoms across the spectrum, it seems certain that there will be a wide range of biological contributors to explaining the cause. The great thing about the new NIH initiative on autism is that scientists will use rigorous advanced methods in causal inference, machine learning, organoids, and other fresh approaches to the problem.
They're gonna fucking
The sharp
AI
rise
it.
in the prevalence of autism deserves
machine
an
learning.
urgent response by the
lordy.
scientific community. As Bobby said, the NIH has invested a lot of money to study autism over the years. But the research has not produced the answers that families and parents of autistic children deserve, and autistic children themselves deserve. For too long, it's been taboo to ask some questions for fear that scientific work might reveal a politically incorrect answer.
Oh my
Because
God.
of this restricted focus in scientific investigations, the answers
we're
for families have been
eradicating
similarly
woke
restricted,
from autism
often pointing families to
research.
behavioral therapies that don't work for every kid, or suggest non-modifiable genetic factors as the cause. But genetics alone can't explain such a sharp rise in autism prevalence over just a few decades, as the president said. In coming months and years, as NIH scientists learn more that can help autistic children and their families, we won't delay.
Disagree with any suggestion otherwise and are deeply concerned with the health risk this poses for expectant mothers. CBS News medical contributor, that's Dr. Celine Gowders, is editor-at-large for public health at KFF Health News, and joins us to sort it all out. Celine, this is already confusing, and they haven't even made the official announcement yet, and there's so much at stake here. As a doctor, you know this world very well. Is there a tie between Tylenol and autism?
No, the best evidence does not show an association between Tylenol and autism. So the best recent study looked at 2.5 million kids from Sweden. They used sibling comparisons to factor out genetic factors and other factors. And they found no increase in risk in autism, ADHD, or other intellectual disabilities for pregnant women who used Tylenol during pregnancy.
Women are often very cautious when it comes to what they take during their pregnancy. How will this announcement change how women process this information? Let me put it better. When women hear the announcement later today, how should they hear it? What should they be listening for?
Well, one of the things that concerns me is unintended side effects of this. So will women end up taking other medications like aspirin or ibuprofen during pregnancy? Those actually can be dangerous, especially in the third trimester. You can end up with kidney issues, cardiac issues in the baby. Other than Tylenol, and Tylenol has been the first line for pregnant women for a long time. That's really the safest thing we have. You're talking about opioids. So is that really the next best thing that we want to be giving women for pain relief? So that's number one. Number two, in terms of what to be listening for when this announcement is made, is who is presenting the information, who's presenting the data. What we've seen with vaccines and autism is the same people who recycle the same playbook. First it was MMR vaccines, then it was thimerosal, then it was aluminum. Is it the same people recycling the same playbook over and over again?
This administration, they're also reportedly planning on touting a lesser-known drug as a potential autism treatment. What more do you know about that?
Yeah, so this is called leucovorin. Okay. And the issue here, some people have been describing this as treatment for folate deficiencies. That's actually not right. You can have a perfectly normal folate level in your blood, but it may not be getting into the brain. And so there's a defect in the transport of folate into the brain. Leucovorin works around that. Not all children with autism have this defect. So there's a test you can do to assess whether that's what's at play. For those kids,
I think one of the funniest and I guess kind of scariest reasons why this is a major point of concern is, and I'm saying this as someone who's like worked with autistic boys specifically in my youth, is that it's just a different designation. Like they just have better methods of figuring out who is on the autism spectrum. Like that's it. That's literally the only reason why the rates have skyrocketed. Straight up. That's literally it. It's like wild that there's any other conversation taking place on this issue. That's it. I mean, many of you in here probably already know this from your personal experience, but like your parents are probably kind of autistic too, okay? If you're autistic, I mean. It's that simple. And there are still a shit ton of people who are undiagnosed, especially women. Because if you remember, when this first exploded, it was like 1 in 5 boys. It's crazy. What's going on? What is happening? Why are women, why is there not a similar rate of increase in girls? Which, by the way, of course, would destroy the narrative that it's vaccines that are causing this, because girls and boys are getting the same fucking vaccines. It's not like women are getting less vaccines. But it's because of diagnosis. It's because of the way that autism is diagnosed